Hello there.
How are you doing?
Very well, thanks. How are you?
Grand, yeah.
Good.
Great. Thanks for dropping in.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm going to just break the ice here and let everyone know that Dermot and Cillian know each other quite well. And I'm just going to ask, how awkward is it to interview your friend, Dermot?
It's a bit weird because usually when we have conversations, they make little or no sense. So,
and there aren't microphones pointed at you.
Slightly more official, I suppose.
Yeah.
Is it a bit like when you bring your girlfriend home to your parents for the first time?
Oh, great. That means maybe I'm the disapproving parent here. Cillian, impress me.
Yeah, and Cillian's doing lots of acting.
He's my own car.
What's it like for you, Kill, with your friend here?
Oh, we've done it before.
Yeah.
You know, it's... Well, like most of the time when we hang out, he's in character and
but what's nice is that you're here now. You're back in Ireland and
moved home. Yeah.
What's it like? Because the Ireland you left, you went to London in the early noughties, and then you came back. Was it different?
Yeah. I mean, 14 years we left. 14 years ago, and but we were over and back all the time. Do you know? It wasn't like we just emigrated and never looked back. But the time just felt right. You know, you live in London for that long. It's a very big city. There's loads of people and it's very pressurised. And it felt the time was right to kind of release that pressure a little and just come home.
Oh, because the houses were cheaper, was it? Yeah.
A friend of mine is a drama director and he moved to the UK for work. Do you think, had you stayed here, that it would have been tougher for you to get breaks and get gigs and do stuff? Was it the fact that you were in London made that easier, or did you still have to travel to LA and all these places to do what you needed to do?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. You never really know. I mean, it's such a sort of a classic Irish narrative, isn't it? To kind of go away and then to come home. I mean, that's so common. And I don't know. I actually went over because my wife is doing an MA. It wasn't really to sort of
wasn't for
make
work
it big.
necessarily, right?
No,
Okay.
It was just happened to be that we were moving to London, and then it just extended.
Right.
We've kids of a certain age as well. It felt like, do we want them to be teenagers in London or do we want them to grow up here? And it felt like, yeah, they should grow up Irish, really.
And have they adapted okay to the differing lives?
But yeah, I mean, it's been great. Like,
Not difficult to swap Tarquins for Paddy, no? Like when they come home and they're friends.
I think the Gaeilge
Racial stereotype.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're going to throw it out, like, do you know what I mean?
Do Cork people get annoyed that you never came home to Cork? What are you doing in Dublin?
No, I go down there as well a lot to Cork, you know. So no, I don't think they actually care, to be honest.
One thing that London did allow you to do was do big stage productions that you just don't get here.
Yeah,
and that's pretty specialty, isn't it?
yes, but funnily enough, those productions always started in Galway. If you're talking about the End of Wall shows, we always opened them in the Galway Arts Festival.
Yeah, like Mr. Man and that kind of stuff,
and then brought them to London.
Okay.
So, you know, because Enda has always opened his work in Ireland and then travelled it. So even though, we were playing it in the National and places like that, it would always have its sort of, you know, premiere in Ireland, which was nice.
Because you've done so much different type of work, obviously most people would know you from big movies and TV now as well, and stage work. Like you've one that if you could just do that forever, you'd do it, or do you just like them all? Or
Yeah, I like them all, and you know, when I kind of started or fell into it, it was like a big adventure, and that there should be no limits on what you should do. And I started doing theatre, and that was unbelievably exciting and mad and live. And then you get a little part in the film, and then that's actually where I met Dermot, you know, working on films. And
I was making him cups of tea. we actually got to know each other the best. My job, besides making Cillian cups of tea, was to stand around corners that he had to walk around with a walkie-talkie, so that the assistant director would say to me, the trainee, and go, "Action, Cillian," and then through the walkie-talkie, go, "Action, Cillian," and then I go, "Action, Cillian." But because movies
you're essentially a human walkie-talkie.
Yeah. I could make tea. I had opposable thumbs, so I could carry cups. Yeah. But because of nature film, it's so slow that we spent a long time together standing around corners, and that's when we became friends. And in fact, then he ended up introducing me to my missus. Oh. So I don't know how we're still friends. But
yeah, and it was just because I quickly realised that Dermot was possibly one of the funniest humans I'd ever met, and that was, and then we just kind of kept hanging out.
Even though he was just saying "action, Cillian," it was just the way he said it. It was
really
so hilarious.
You have a big movie, which is, well, you have a few go. Let's talk about Free Fire first, because it's part of is it the Dublin Film Festival?
Yeah. Yes, it's premiering in the Dublin Film Festival in 23rd of February. And it's a Ben Wheatley film.
So it's Free Fire.
What's it about?
I've seen the trailer. It looks brilliant. It's like every movie any lad wanted to be in as a kid, because it's just loads of shooting.
Yeah, it's a feature-length shootout, basically.
Right. Wow.
Wow. Why did you take the part?
It's set in the 70s, which is also an added bonus.
And, cool clothes.
Yeah, and there's 11 guys and one girl. I think there's 11 moustaches in the film, but or variations on that. But so these two Irish guys, myself and Michael Smiley, go over to buy guns. These RA fellas, and they go over to buy guns, and then it goes terribly wrong.
And anyone else in it that we would know?
Brie Larson is in it. Charlotte Copley.
Charlotte is from people know from District 9, that alien South African movie, which is just unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's got the great accent, isn't it?
They can't say our favourite line from the movie, but it's about prawns.
Yeah, he's brilliant in this. He's very, very funny.
So is this the exciting part, like just before a movie comes out? And
that's the annoying part. You got to talk to people like us about his new movie. He's like, oh, for God's sake.
No, this is like particularly a movie you're proud of.
Yeah,
which I get the sense you are of this one.
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah, so you get to kind of go, yay, look what I've done. And because it's the time is so long, like our radio show, it's daily disposable, but you put so much work in over a long period of time that it takes so long to come out. It must be nice to be able to celebrate it.
It is nice. But it's hard to try and remember. People say, what was the most hilarious incident that happened during the making of the.
So what was the most hilarious?
Damn it. Scribbles out. Next question.
That's our next 5 questions. Look, we couldn't have you here without letting you choose some music, because music is a massive part of your life. It always has been, and it's well known that, or maybe it isn't, that you had a crossroads in your life at one point, that you could have gone down the music route because you had record deals on the table and stuff like that, or else he was acting on the other one, so you took the acting. But music is still a massive part of your life, isn't it? Yeah,
it is. And I think that anyone who's a failed musician or wanted or had ambitions to be a musician, it still stays with you, and so it's kind of every day I spend a good few hours listening to music, and I'm very I try and get to see as many gigs as possible, and it's sort of it's a mood alterer or a mood enhancer, isn't it? Music, and I use it in work as well. And
well, what tune do you want to hear first?
I don't know. Should we have some David Bowie? I mean,
you're a big fan.
Yeah. One of my favourite albums is Young Americans, because I just love the way he changed his whole vocal style and the whole sound of the group, and just became this soul singer sort of overnight, seemingly. And that record is one of my favourites.
Okay, as chosen by Cillian Murphy, it's David Bowie and Young Americans on Today FM.
Today FM, it's Dermot and Dave, and Cillian Murphy, actor, is still with us. And you described yourself as a failed musician, but I don't think that's actually accurate, is it? I mean,
well, it is really, but I suppose I just moved on to something else, and it's a hobby now.
What was that decision like, though? Was it clear that you was like, no, I'm going to do acting, or was it like, I'll try acting and then maybe come back? Or like, what was the process?
It was gradual. I mean, I've said this before. I think I kind of was aware of the sort of limitations I had as a musician. I was aware of a ceiling, and then when I started doing theatre, it felt like kind of there was no limitations. You could just keep on finding stuff, keep on trying stuff, and
that's funny that you felt that. Like, why would you feel that in one discipline? Is that not just everyone's self-doubt? You think, oh God, I can't get better.
Well, I was quite a limited guitar player, but and
you're still a limited guitar player.
I'm still a limited guitar player. So it's you kind of, and you all the guys that you listen to, and you go, if you want to do something, you want to do it to the best ability you can, and that would always be my thing. And I kind of realised that. I mean, some of the guys in the band were really, really, really talented and still play,
Including your brother, Poyd.
Yeah, he was very, very talented.
Yeah. And it was the Sons of Mr. Green Jeans was the band?
That's right, yeah.
I presume there's a lot of Cork people who would still remember that, because, you used to bus people out to Lepp and places for gigs, and you had a big following.
Yeah, well, like 20 years ago, if anyone cares.
I'm interested now, though, right? Because, look, let's face it, you're Hollywood royalty. You could surround yourself with the best musicians in the world who would be able to compensate for any limits you may have, and you could perform. You could be an actor / musician.
Yeah, Russell Crowe and all these lads do it.
We call ourselves the compensators.
But genuinely, would you have any interest at all?
No, whatsoever.
And is that because of a kind of like the way it would be perceived, or
I don't know. I've always been like, do one thing well.
Right.
It's always been, and it's probably a bit old fashioned or I don't know, a bit sort of myopic, but I'd be like, no, that's just try and do one thing well and keep the music for a hobby.
Yeah.
You're not going to turn them down.
No, it seems not. Because I was just saying, like, I wrote a song the other day and I could just send it to you, and then you and I could just be band friends. Is there any chance?
Come here, let's get on to Peaky Blinders, because it's such just a huge success. You're just about to embark on filming in the next few weeks.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
number 4. Yeah,
which that involves you going off away from home again for a few months, which has got to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loath to complain about it. I've been at home for 6 months, so you I'm sure they're dying to get rid of me.
Yeah, your wife has the bags packed.
Yeah. So that's the thing about our job. You're at home for a long time, and then you're gone for a long time.
Yeah.
So, and the kids are old enough now that they can rationalise it and they understand it.
Well, let's talk about Thomas Shelby, because it just seems like you love playing that character because you are brilliant at it. And even knowing you for as long as I do, it always strikes me that when you are Thomas Shelby, you are completely different.
Yeah.
And, how much work did you have to do to get to that place?
Well, I've always liked that sort of, the idea of acting as a transformative thing, and then I've always admired the actors where you have to look closely and say, is that actually the same guy?
Yeah.
That's always attracted me. Yeah, he's very unlike me, and I hadn't necessarily played anybody like him in the past. But the nature of television and the nature of long form television is that you can get to inhabit a character kind of over time, and you gradually get under the skin of somebody. So more and more there's this kind of, by osmosis, sort of change cells, if you know what I mean.
Because he's such a threatening character, but they could have hired someone who's 6'4" and looks like Paul O'Connell. But what makes him more menacing is that, you're obviously...
Careful now, Dermot. You're 5'2" and you've got spindly arms.
No, I'm not. Yeah, well, you're not the size of Paul O'Connell, it's fair to say. Yeah. But the character, because of that, he's extra threatening. If you think of characters in Trainspotting that are wiry, and they just, you think, oh my God, if I met that guy in a pub, I'd be terrified.
Yeah, and I think it's about, I don't know, but it's about giving an energy, isn't it? It's about projecting an energy or a sort of and we try to do that. And obviously there's the violence and that happens, but it's the sort of energy around the character you try to project. I don't know.
Do you worry that playing a character like that on television for so long, it's not quite Bet from Coronation Street now, you're going to be there for 40 years and coming on screens every night, but is there a concern at all?
Morning, Mr. Shelby. The Rovers is looking well.
half pint of lager, please. Is there any worry that, it'll be the thing that'll be shouted at you in the street in 30 years? Or is that just, you don't care?
Or maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, I don't mind. And that stuff changes all the time. As long as people are still shouting at you.
That's true, yeah. What kind of general reaction do you get, I suppose, from Irish people when you're knocking around? Because you are a private individual, but you're not hiding yourself away. Like, you go to the pub and the restaurant and the coffee shop and all that. What kind of interactions do you have?
People are sound mostly, mostly. We get the odd one. I think I've told you this, and this is my favourite one. I was doing a play in Galway, and I was in McDonough's Chipper, if you know McDonough's, brilliant chipper. And I was having my cod and chips, it was kind of my routine before the show. And I was kind of minding my own business, and I could see this woman looking at me in the queue, and she was looking at me, and I know she's coming over. She came over, and she said, "Are you Cillian Murphy?" And I said, "I am, yeah, are you?" And she looked at me for a bit longer, and she said, "Your eyes aren't even that blue."
There's you eating fish and chips.
All that colour correction in the movies is incredible. Yeah,
it's like you've been lying to your audience for so long.
Profoundly deflating.
What do you say to that?
Sorry.
Yeah, I'll try harder with my eyes.
Yeah, because that's something you can raise the intensity with your mind.
One thing you were saying there about Shelby and about the kind of transformative nature of somebody saying, oh, is that really Cillian Murphy? We recently spoke to Matthew McConaughey about the movie Gold that's out at the moment, and he basically put on like 4 or 5 stone or whatever to play that character. Famously, obviously, he lost it all for Dallas Buyers Club. Have you been approached, or would you reject, or would you care? Or is it just part of the process? If somebody said to you, look, I need you to go to the gym for 6 months and be part of Gladiator 2 or whatever, or vice versa, lose a ton of weight and do something, like, would you just, is that something that happens? Or
yeah, I mean, it's kind of very fashionable now for actors to do that, and I think, you know, if the role demands it, then definitely, you know, but it needs to be part of the character.
The character, yeah.
You know, and that can't be the thing that is the attraction. Has to be the character in the story.
Well, in Breakfast at Bluto, you had a perm, so like, and you were dressed as a woman for most of it. So
there you go.
Yeah, I mean that is a leap of faith,
it's dedication. Yeah.
Do you want to pick another song?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Oh yeah. Well, I'd love to play this track Brazil by Declan McKenna, who my boys got me into him, and he's fantastic. I think he's really young. I think he's like 17 or 18. Right. I don't think he's Irish, but he must, you know, have Irish parents with a good name like that. But it's a brilliant song.
He ain't Japanese anyway, you know.
Right, Brazil from Declan McKenna. It's Today FM with Dermot and Dave and Cillian Murphy. Today FM, it's Dermot and Dave here with actor and musician Cillian Murphy. I'm still going to form a band with you, Cillian. It's going to happen. Just get used to it.
Before we move on, you're about to embark on season 4, of Peaky Blinders. Can you give us any hints as to what's going to happen in the storyline?
No. Well, I mean, in this sort of classic, you know, gangster arc, I think series 3 was kind of, you know, all the wealth in the house and material stuff, and I think this is probably a return to the roots of some sort, you know. Right. That's about as much as I can reveal.
That's pretty intriguing.
What do people from Birmingham think of your accent?
I don't know. They seem to have been very sympathetic and very forgiving. You know,
they're not like we are with Irish accents.
Because it's better than that, I think, than the ones that are tried.
Well, no, someone can do a perfect Irish accent, and we're like, no one talks like that.
Well, Kate Blanchett is about the only foreign person I've ever heard do a perfect Irish accent.
She did it very well. Yeah.
But it's not as if there are many really famous Brummies that, you know, you can compare to either.
Gabby Agbonalhor. I mean, come on, Dermot.
Well, I think the writer and creator of it, Steve Knight, is from Birmingham himself, and he said to me at the beginning, there's this sort of notion that Birmingham people speak really fast. Okay. And what he was like, they don't actually. That's just a sort of a cliche. And then we slowed it right down, and apparently that was, you know, I liked that.
Because it isn't an easy accent. I mean, like, most people can approximate, you know, a couple of regional ones that they can do: a Scottish, a Newcastle, a Liverpool, and a London. But that Birmingham one, like, everyone can just say Birmingham, and that's basically it. Like, was it when it was set there, where you're like, oh God, I wish this was in Manchester or Glasgow or? Well,
I'm not a great mimic. Okay. Like your man here, I can't really do it immediately. But if you give me like 6 weeks, I'll give it a shot. And I think, and it's kind of, I've always said it's like going to the gym for your mouth.
Yeah.
Do you know?
You have to work at it.
Yeah. And if you put in the time, and if you got some sort of an ear, it should get an approximation.
But that's where the music helps as well, isn't it?
But covering it up.
You just start playing a banjo if you get it wrong. No, you have a musical ear, and that helps with accents.
I think, eventually, yeah.
I know that you won't do the accent because you never do it for me. After a few
Maybe
pints,
you'll do it for me.
I'm plaguing him. Go on, do it. Can you do it? No. Watch the series, is what I said.
Whereas if you say to Dermot to do any of the things you do, he's just going to try and stop him. Stop showing off immediately.
I'm so needy. Well, look, you had great success with Anthropoid as well last year, which was a fantastic movie.
Oh, yeah.
You just do these gems. You've got Free Fire coming out, obviously, and there's another one you're going to be doing the rounds with as well.
Oh, yeah, we're going to the Berlin Film Festival with this film called The Party, which is a great cast and directed by Sally Potter. So that's in a couple of weeks as well.
And what's that about?
It's about this, well, a kind of a gathering that happens in this house, and it takes place over real time, and it's an amazing cast, and Tim Spall and Kristen Scott Thomas and Emily Mortimer, and it's like we shot it in 2 weeks, so it was extraordinary to shoot a feature film in 2 weeks. So it's kind of a black comedy.
Cillian, we wish you the very best of luck with Free Fire and the party and the new season of Peaky Blinders as well. Thanks a million for coming in to talk to us. Dave will be in touch about joining the band.
I wrote the songs 3 chords, G, A minor, and I can't remember the other one.
And we got lots and lots of texts about questions asking you how you managed to still look 20 years younger than you actually are.
That's
in one word, what's the secret?
Nivea.
Now you know.
There's your next endorsement for 2017.
Cillian, thanks so much.
Thanks, lads.
Good luck.